In the vast green forests where gorillas roam free, a silent language of love and connection exists. They are not just wild creatures, they are intelligent, emotional beings with thoughts, feelings, and even friendships that defy logic. They laugh in moments of joy, they grieve their losses, they hold each other close for comfort. But among all the stories ever told about these magnificent animals, there is one that stands above the rest. A story so rare, so extraordinary, that it challenges everything we think we know about the bond between humans and animals. What happens when a gorilla, a creature of the wild, forms an unbreakable bond with a little girl? A connection so deep, so pure, that it leaves even the hardest hearts softened and filled with wonder. This is the story of Lily and Coco, a friendship that knew no barriers. One built not on words, but on something far more powerful. A story of love, trust, and a silent promise that would forever change both of their lives. Science tells us that gorillas share over 98% of their DNA with humans. They express emotions, form close-knit families, and even communicate through gestures and expressions. But few have ever truly witnessed the depth of their emotions. Until now. Because in one small, unexpected moment, the unlikeliest of friendships was born. It began with nothing more than a single touch, a simple moment of recognition, a quiet understanding that neither of them would ever forget. And from that moment on, a journey unfolded, one that would prove that love knows no boundaries. The Gorilla Who Loved a Girl, a story that will melt your heart. Lily had always been fascinated by animals. Even as a toddler, she would stare in wonder at pictures of gorillas in books, tracing their faces with her tiny fingers as if trying to understand them. But nothing could have prepared her for the moment she first saw Coco. It was a warm afternoon when Lily's parents took her to the wildlife sanctuary for the first time. She walked past the different enclosures, mesmerized by the sights and sounds of animals she had only seen in pictures. But then she reached the gorilla habitat, and everything else faded away. Her eyes locked onto a massive figure sitting quietly by the glass. A gorilla, larger than life, watching her with deep, thoughtful eyes. He was different. He wasn't just looking at her, he was studying her, as if he saw something in her that no one else did. Lily pressed her small hands against the glass, inching closer. The gorilla, his name was Coco, lifted his enormous hand and placed it gently on the other side. It was a perfect match, tiny fingers meeting massive, powerful ones, separated only by a thin barrier. A spark of understanding passed between them in that instant. Coco tilted his head, his eyes filled with curiosity, as if asking her a silent question. Lily giggled, tapping the glass once. To her amazement, Coco copied her exactly. She tapped again. So did he. It became a game, an unspoken language between them. A few moments later, Lily turned to her parents, her face glowing with excitement. "He understands me," she whispered, as if afraid to break the magic of the moment. Her mother smiled, but even she couldn't deny there was something special about the way the gorilla was interacting with her daughter. From that day forward, Lily begged her parents to take her back to the sanctuary as often as possible. Every visit was the same. Coco would be there, waiting. Each time their bond grew stronger. Lily would sit by the glass for hours, talking to him, even though she knew he couldn't answer in words. But Coco didn't need words. He listened, he watched, and slowly, he began responding in his own way. Tilting his head, using gestures, even mimicking her expressions. The sanctuary staff noticed the unusual connection and encouraged Lily to learn more about gorilla behavior. They taught her simple signs that Coco understood, a way to communicate without words. When Lily signed hello, Coco responded. When she signed happy, Coco thumped his chest gently, showing he understood. It was astonishing. A little girl and a gorilla, two completely different worlds, yet somehow they had found a way to meet in the middle. One afternoon, as Lily sat outside Coco's enclosure, The sanctuary keeper brought out a small stuffed animal, a soft, brown teddy bear. Coco watched curiously as the keeper handed it to Lily. She held it up for Coco to see, smiling. Without hesitation, Coco reached into his enclosure and pulled out an old, worn-out piece of cloth he had kept for years, a comfort item given to him when he was a baby. He placed it gently against the glass, offering it to her in return. It was a gift, a sign of trust, of love. The staff was stunned. Gorillas don't just give away things that are precious to them, but Coco had made his choice. Lily wasn't just a visitor. She was his friend. Lily's visits to the sanctuary became the highlight of her days. Each time she arrived, Coco would rush to the glass, his dark eyes lighting up with excitement. It was as if he had been waiting for her, counting the moments until she returned. Their bond deepened in ways that left even the sanctuary staff amazed. Gorillas were intelligent, yes, but Coco's connection with Lily was something different, something rare. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was friendship. Lily didn't just watch Coco from behind the glass. She learned his gestures, his moods, his way of communicating. She practiced simple sign language with him, guided by the sanctuary workers, and each time she signed a word, Coco responded with surprising accuracy. "Play," she would sign, tilting her head. Coco would nod and drum his massive hands on the ground, a signal of excitement. "Happy?" She signed another day, and Coco smiled, his large lips curving in a way that showed pure joy. It was as if they had created a secret language of their own, one that needed no translation. Coco, too, had his own ways of showing affection. When Lily sat by the glass, he would press his forehead against it, closing his eyes, as if feeling her presence. When she laughed, he would copy the sound in his own deep, rumbling way. When she was sad, he seemed to sense it, staying still, watching her with quiet concern. One afternoon, Lily arrived at the sanctuary, feeling upset after a difficult day at school. She didn't speak a word, but as soon as she sat down, Coco reached out and gently tapped the glass near her face. It was a gesture of comfort, as if to say, "I'm here." And just like that, her sadness melted away. But the most touching moment came on a bright summer morning. Lily brought a small notebook with her, filled with simple drawings and pictures of animals. She held it up for Coco to see, flipping through the pages. Coco watched with interest, his eyes scanning each image carefully. Then, without warning, he turned away and disappeared into the back of his enclosure. For a moment, Lily thought he had lost interest, until he returned, carrying something in his massive hands. He held it up to the glass. It was a leaf, perfectly intact, placed carefully in his palm like a delicate treasure. He pressed it against the barrier, offering it to her. It was a gift, his way of sharing something special, something that mattered to him. Lily's heart swelled as she pressed her hand to the glass in return. She didn't need words to understand what Coco was saying. He loved her, in the only way he knew how. With each visit, their friendship grew stronger. The little girl and the great gorilla, two souls from different worlds, yet somehow they had found each other. What had started as a simple fascination had turned into something much deeper, something unbreakable. It was love, pure and simple, and neither of them knew just how much they would need that love in the days to come. The days at the sanctuary were filled with laughter, games, and quiet moments of understanding. Lily and Coco had become inseparable in spirit, even with the glass between them. But life, as it often does, had its own plans. One morning, as Coco waited by the enclosure, his dark eyes scanning the entrance for the familiar sight of his best friend, she never came. The hours passed, the sun drifted across the sky, but there was no sign of Lily. He tapped the glass, a soft, patient rhythm, his way of calling to her. But the girl who always answered was nowhere to be seen. Lily had fallen sick. What started as a small fever turned into something worse, leaving her weak and unable to visit the sanctuary. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart heavy with longing. She missed Coco, the way he would press his forehead to the glass, the way he mimicked her laughter, the way he made her feel understood without a single word. Her parents tried to comfort her, telling her she would see him again soon, but soon felt too far away. She wanted to be there, sitting in her usual spot, sharing moments that only they could understand. Days turned into weeks. Coco's behavior began to change. He no longer rushed to greet visitors with the same excitement. He ate less, moved slower, and spent long hours staring at the entrance, waiting. The sanctuary staff noticed his shift in mood. Gorillas, like humans, could feel the weight of loneliness, and Coco was no exception. He had lost something, someone, and he didn't understand why. One afternoon, a caretaker brought him his favorite treat, hoping to lift his spirits. Coco took it, but instead of eating, he placed it down beside him, untouched. He turned his head toward the glass, letting out a deep sigh, a sound that carried the weight of longing. He missed her. Lily, still weak but growing restless, found herself watching old videos on her mother's phone, clips of her and Coco playing their tapping game, mimicking each other's movements, exchanging silent jokes. She smiled, but tears welled in her eyes. She had to see him. She had to let him know she hadn't forgotten him. But she wasn't strong enough yet. So, she did the only thing she could. She drew a picture. A simple sketch of Coco, sitting with a small girl beside him. She handed it to her father. "Please, give this to him," she whispered. And the next morning, when the caretaker arrived at Coco's enclosure, he gently placed the drawing inside. Coco approached cautiously, his dark eyes scanning the paper. He picked it up carefully with his massive hands, tilting his head as he studied the image. Then, slowly, he pressed it against his chest. He understood. The bond had not been broken. She was still with him, even from far away. The day Lily finally returned to the sanctuary, the air felt different, charged with anticipation, hope, and an unspoken question. Would Coco remember her? Would he still feel the same connection after all this time? Her steps were slow, her heart pounding in her chest as she approached his enclosure. She wasn't sure what to expect, but the moment Coco caught sight of her, everything became clear. His head lifted, his dark eyes widening in recognition, and then, in an instant, he was moving. Coco rushed to the glass, his massive hands pressing against it with urgency. A deep, rumbling sound escaped his throat, a mixture of excitement and relief. Lily gasped, her eyes filling with tears. He hadn't forgotten. He hadn't let go. She pressed her palms against the glass, mirroring his touch just like she had done so many times before. For a moment, they simply stayed like that, staring at each other, as if making up for all the lost time in a single gaze. Then, something incredible happened. Coco turned, disappeared for a few seconds, and returned holding something in his hands. The drawing. The same crumpled piece of paper Lily had sent weeks ago. He held it gently, showing it to her as if to say, "I kept it. I held on to you." Lily let out a small sob, her emotions spilling over. She placed her forehead against the glass, and Coco did the same, their silent connection stronger than ever. The sanctuary staff, watching from a distance, could hardly believe what they were witnessing. It was love, pure, undeniable love. Lily wiped her eyes and signed the word, "happy." Coco, understanding instantly, thumped his chest lightly and nodded. It was their secret language, their way of speaking without words. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the time apart, not the illness, not the barriers between them. They had found each other again, and that was all that counted. As the sun began to set, Lily's parents gently told her it was time to go. She hesitated, looking back at Coco, afraid to say goodbye again. But Coco, as if sensing her hesitation, reached down and picked up a single leaf from the ground. He held it up to the glass, offering it to her, just like he had done before. A gift, a sign of trust, of love, of an unbreakable bond. Lily smiled, pressing her hand to her heart, silently promising she would always come back. And as she walked away, Coco watched her go. His eyes filled not with sadness, but with the quiet comfort of knowing that some friendships are forever. Lily's bond with Coco became more than just a beautiful friendship. It became a story that touched the hearts of everyone who heard it. The sanctuary staff often spoke about the little girl and the gorilla who had found each other in the most unexpected way. Visitors who watched them together felt something profound, something rare. It wasn't just about a girl visiting an animal. It was about two souls connecting beyond words, beyond species, beyond anything that could be explained by science alone. As the years passed, Lily continued to visit Coco whenever she could. She grew taller, her face changed, but one thing remained the same: her love for him. And Coco, in his own gentle way, never stopped showing that he felt the same. He would always rush to the glass when she arrived, always press his forehead against hers, always find small ways to remind her that their bond was still as strong as ever. Their silent conversations continued, their games, their gestures of love. Time had no power over what they had built. But life moves forward, and change is inevitable. One day, Lily arrived at the sanctuary and noticed something different. Coco moved slower than before. His once powerful steps were more measured, his eyes filled with wisdom, but also with the weight of years gone by. The caretakers explained to Lily that Coco was aging, that his time in this world was growing shorter. It was something she had always known would happen, but hearing the words still sent a deep ache through her heart. She sat by his enclosure for hours that day, speaking to him in whispers, signing the words they had shared for so long. Coco watched her, listening, understanding. He lifted his massive hand to the glass one last time, his eyes filled with something deeper than sadness: gratitude. For the love they had shared, for the years of companionship, for the moments that would never be forgotten. Lily pressed her hand against his, blinking back tears. "Love," she signed softly. Coco nodded, thumped his chest lightly, and then closed his eyes in peaceful acceptance. Not long after, Coco passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would never fade. The sanctuary mourned the loss of one of its most beloved residents, but for Lily, it was something more personal. She had lost a friend, a teacher, a soul who had understood her in ways no one else ever could. But even in her grief, she knew one thing for certain: Coco's love had changed her forever. He had shown her the beauty of unspoken connections, the power of trust, and the kind of love that transcends all barriers. Years later, Lily would tell the story of Coco to others, sharing the lessons he had taught her, keeping his memory alive in the hearts of those who listened. And every time she did, she would smile, knowing that somewhere, somehow, the gorilla who had loved a girl was still watching over her, his spirit forever a part of hers. Lily never forgot Coco, even as she grew older, as life pulled her in different directions. His memory remained a part of her. She carried it with her in the quiet moments, in the way she looked at the world, in the way she understood love. It wasn't just about a gorilla in a sanctuary. It was about something far greater. A friendship that defied expectations. A bond that proved love isn't bound by words or species or even time. She often visited the sanctuary, walking past Coco's old enclosure, now empty but still filled with echoes of their moments together. The caretakers still spoke of him with warmth, telling new visitors the story of the great gorilla who had once formed an unbreakable bond with a little girl. They showed them the drawings Lily had made for him, the old videos of their silent conversations, the memories that refused to fade. Coco may have been gone, but his spirit remained, etched into the hearts of those who had witnessed his love. One day, Lily stood at the enclosure, watching the trees sway gently in the wind, remembering the times she had sat in that very spot with Coco by her side. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something she had kept for years, a single, dried leaf. The same one Coco had given her so long ago, pressed against the glass as a symbol of their friendship. She held it gently in her hands, feeling its delicate edges, a reminder of all he had taught her. And in that moment, she understood. Some bonds never break, even when the ones we love are no longer by our side. Inspired by Coco, Lily dedicated her life to helping animals, becoming an advocate for their care and protection. She traveled to different places, sharing their story, teaching others about the intelligence, emotions, and deep connections that animals are capable of. She wanted the world to see what she had seen in Coco's eyes, that love is universal, that every creature deserves to be understood and cherished. And so, the story of Coco and Lily lived on, not just in the sanctuary, not just in memories, but in the way their love changed the world. A little girl and a great gorilla, proving that the purest friendships leave a mark that never fades, because love, real, true love, transcends all boundaries. It is felt, it is remembered, and it is forever.